Welcome, everyone, back to the Mid Podcast, and welcome new viewers, listeners. Make sure you like and subscribe to the show. Today, well, today is going to be different. We are going to review a movie, and not just any movie. The new movie called Young Washington, and as you noticed in the title, why this is the historical movie America needed. So, I am glad you're here because I went to the movies to see this yesterday. Might just have to go back and see it again. That's how good it was. So, with that being said, let's get into some things. With America celebrating its 250th anniversary, there couldn't have been a better time to tell the story of the man who would become the nation's first president. But here's what makes this movie very different. This isn't another film about crossing the Delaware. It isn't about Valley Forge. It isn't about becoming president. No, 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 no. Instead, this movie asks a very fascinating question. How did George Washington become George Washington? And that's exactly what makes Young Washington such an enjoyable experience. Today, I will break down the movie, discuss performances, examine the historical moments, talk about what works, what doesn't, and why this film deserves far more attention than what it's getting. So, grab your favorite drink, sit back, and let's swing the time machine back to colonial America. So, finally telling the story before the legend. One of my favorite things about this film is that it definitely avoids the obvious. Hollywood has spent decades making movies about famous battles, presidents, wars, yet somehow George Washington has rarely received a major theatrical origin story. Director John Irwin instead focuses on Washington's early adulthood during the French and Indian War, showing a young man filled with ambition but lacking the wisdom that history remembers him for. Rather than portraying Washington as a flawless hero, this film explores how mistakes, setbacks, and difficult decisions shaped his future leadership. That decision immediately makes the movie more interesting. Great leaders aren't born, they're forged. The biggest surprise is William Franklin Miller, who delivers a strong performance. Playing someone as recognizable as George Washington is an enormous challenge. You can't imitate him because no one knows exactly how he sounded. You can't make him too modern, you can't make him too stiff, and Franklin Miller finds the balance. His Washington is confident, but inexperienced. He's ambitious, but uncertain. He's courageous, but sometimes reckless. Instead of playing an untouchable historical icon, he plays someone who still has something to prove, making the audience invest emotionally in his journey. The supporting cast. Every member of the supporting cast elevates every scene. And the reason it works? You have a veteran cast. Ben Kingsley brings authority as Robert Denwell. Andy Serkis delivers intensity as General Braddock. Kelsey Grammer provides gravitas as Lord Fairfax. Mary Louise Parker gives the emotional weight as Mary Washington. These experienced actors help create a believable world around the young lead and help establish the political and military tensions of colonial America. So, now let's talk about visuals. The movie looked expensive. The forest, the forts, the uniforms, battlefields, everything feels authentic. The cinematography captures both the beauty and danger of the American frontier while Practical locations and period costumes help immerse viewers in 18th century Virginia. Critics have especially praised the battle choreography and production value. It really made you feel like you were there. Alright, so let's talk battle scenes. Battle scenes avoid turning Washington into a superhero. They felt real. Instead, viewers experienced the confusion, the fear, the smoke, and chaos of an 18th century combat. Muskets misfire, commands are misunderstood, soldiers panic, people make mistakes. The French and Indian War becomes more than background, it becomes the crucible that teaches Washington lessons about leadership and survival that later influences the American Revolution. Washington's greatest strength, it wasn't winning. One of the film's smartest choices is showing that Washington, he isn't perfect. He fails, he miscalculates, he loses men, he doubts himself. That's refreshing because history often remembers only his victories. By emphasizing setbacks, the movie shows that resilience, not perfection, helped shape one of America's most influential leaders. We have history with some humanity. Another element I appreciate is that the film doesn't completely ignore the difficult realities of colonial America. It acknowledges the class divisions. It includes the presence of enslaved people. It hints at the complicated social structure that surrounded Washington's rise. While it doesn't become an exhaustive examination of these issues, the film recognizes that the era was far more complex than patriotic myths sometimes suggest. So, is it historically perfect? Well, no historical film is that way. Like every and almost every historical movie, Young Washington compresses timelines and dramatizes certain events for storytelling. Some critics have noted changes to historical details and a tendency toward inspirational storytelling over deeper complexity. But that's true of nearly every historical film. The key question is whether those changes help communicate larger truths about Washington's development. And for me, the answer is yes. So, why are the critics divided on this movie? One of the interesting stories surrounding this movie is the split in the critical opinion. Some reviewers praise its battle scenes, performances, and willingness to tell an overlooked chapter of American history. Others criticize it for being conventional or emotionally restrained. Personally, I think exceptions matter. If you're expecting nonstop action or revisionist political drama, this may not be your movie. If you're looking for an engaging historical coming of age story, you'll likely enjoy this much more. Well, why would this movie matter? Well, it's America's 250th birthday. And this movie arrives during a remarkable moment in American history. We are embarking on our 250 years since the Declaration of Independence. Whether you admire the founding fathers, critique them, or hold a more nuanced view, understanding how the nation began, it remains important. Young Washington doesn't claim Washington was flawless. Instead, it portrays him as a young man learning through hardship, responsibility, and failure before history remembered him as a founder. That perspective makes the story feel timely and accessible. So, my final thoughts. So, what makes Young Washington great? Well, for me, it's simple. It humanizes an icon. It reminds us that leadership is learned. It presents history as a journey instead of a monument. It features impressive performances with a very talented cast. Its production value is very strong. Its battle scenes are exciting. Most importantly, it tells a story Hollywood has largely ignored. No movie about history is perfect. Every historical film makes their choices. But Young Washington succeeds because it inspires curiosity. It encourages viewers to learn more about the real George Washington. And honestly, if a historical movie gets people opening history books after the credits roll, well, that's a victory. So, that's going to be it for today's episode. If you've already seen Young Washington, let me know your thoughts. Did you enjoy the film? What was your favorite scene? Do you think Hollywood should make more movies about America's founding fathers or explore lesser known figures from the Revolutionary era? And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with fellow history lovers and movie fans. Also, if I was the company that produced this movie, I would also produce it as a trilogy and then just study George Washington as he leads the Continental Army into the Revolution, and then do a film on him as president. And there you have your trilogy. If they could do as good as they did with this Young Washington, I'm sure they'll kick the other two out of the park. I think I need to drop an email to the production company and give them a hint. Until next time, remember, history isn't just about the people who changed the world. It's about discovering how they became the people history remembers. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next time.